Mr. Smucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ambassador Tai, for being with us today. Let me start by echoing several of my colleagues' comments regarding our disappointment to see digital trade barriers not included in the national trade estimate. However, there's one area that's been brought up previously that I was pleased to see in the NTA, which is the trade barriers that Canada is enacting or has enacted for online music streaming. Many people are surprised to learn that in my district we have companies that provide a lot of services to the live entertainment industry, and particularly concerts in the music industry. We have a big complex of multiple companies called Rocklytics. We also have a thriving live music scene in our area as well. I do, Mr. Chairman, I have 3 articles I'd like to submit to the record.
Without objection.
Thank you. One's from iPolitics, one's from The Hill, and one is WSJ. They do a pretty good job of explaining this issue and the impact on American musicians and the holder of music rights. Even talk about how Canada can't afford it. It's going to increase costs in Canada as well. So I'll submit those for the record. So again, serious concerns. It's going to apply quotas on music streaming services that will clearly discriminate against American content, to harm American artists and rights holders. What's deeply concerning is how the new law gives Canada's regulators the power to condition market access for music streaming services on making financial contributions into certain government-linked funds that will be used to support creation of Canadian content, again, ultimately restricting cross-border digital trade. We've heard from stakeholders that the CRTC, the Canadian Radio, Television, and Telecommunications Commission, is planning to require these mandatory financial contributions before even defining specifically what Canadian content means for the purposes of the fund. So it seems not only like an unfair trade practice, but like a backwards process. And I think it's actually part of a troubling pattern of governments and stakeholders around the world seeing American economic success as sort of a piggy bank from which they can extract value to plug holes in their domestic budgets, similar to the DSTs, which, by the way, Canada is also pursuing. So, Ambassador Tai, I strongly encourage USTR's continued engagement with the Canadian government to ensure that we have an outcome that gives equitable access for the U.S. music industry and artists in the Canadian market. And I'd like to get your reaction and like to see if you'll commit to working with us to ensure an outcome that protects fair market competition.
So thank you, Mr. Smucker, and thank you for acknowledging as well that the national trade estimates, which it sounds like you've actually looked at, does actually include digital trade barriers, such as this one. So we are tracking this very closely and engaged. The Online Streaming Act in Canada became law just short of a year ago. The law does create an opportunity for Canada to update its definition of Canadian content to better reflect the complex ways in which film, video, and audio content is produced. We have let the Canadians know that we would like to see this updating process lead to outcomes that are fair for U.S. stakeholders, and we remain engaged and would be happy to stay connected with you and your team as well.
Yeah, like I said, this is really important for the district I represent, and so would love to stay engaged and if we can be helpful in any way. But I think this is a really important issue. Secondly, I'm very concerned about the global proliferation of digital service taxes, but I'm equally concerned with the fact that our own administration sees the rise of DSTs around the globe as an opportunity to question if digital innovation born and bred in the U.S. is actually American. And I believe comments like that send the wrong signal to the international community that our administration welcomes their efforts to cut into the share of taxes that companies are paying. So I strongly urge you to pursue aggressive action to ensure that our companies are not discriminated against. And I hope new Section 301 investigations or other tools to respond to DSTs are under consideration We need to show other countries that there are consequences for unfair practices. And there's only a few seconds left. I don't know if you want to respond to that.
Mr. Smucker, let me just say I've taken note of your endorsement of looking at all U.S. trade tools, including Section 301s, with respect to the discriminatory impacts here, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.